He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Nevertheless, he giveth his beloved sleep. The subconscious never sleeps. Sleep is the door through which the conscious waking mind passes to be creatively joined to the subconscious. Sleep conceals the creative act, while the objective world reveals it. In sleep, man impresses the subconscious with his conception of himself. What more beautiful description of this romance of the conscious and subconscious is there than that told in the Song of Solomon? By night on my bed I sought him whom my soul loveth. I found him whom my soul loveth. I held him, and I would not let him go, until I had brought him into my mother's house, and into the chamber of her that conceived me. Preparing to sleep, you feel yourself into the state of the answered wish, and then relax into unconsciousness. Your realized wish is he whom you seek. By night, on your bed, you seek the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that you may take it with you into the chamber of her that conceived you, into sleep, or the subconscious which gave you form, that this wish also may be given expression. This is the way to discover and conduct your wishes into the subconscious. Feel yourself in the state of the realized wish and quietly drop off to sleep. Night after night, you should assume the feeling of being, having, and witnessing that which you seek to be, possess, and see manifested. Never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. Your subconscious, whose natural state is sleep, sees you as you believe yourself to be, and whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, the subconscious will faithfully embody your belief.
22.
As you feel, so do you impress her.
Ooh,
And
42.
she, the perfect lover, gives form to these impressions and outpictures them as the
3.
children of her beloved.
And 9 at the bottom.
Thou art all fair, my love. There is no spot in thee, is the attitude of mind to adopt before dropping off to sleep. Disregard appearances and feel that things are as you wish them to be, for he calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and the unseen becomes seen. To assume the feeling of satisfaction is to call conditions into being which will mirror satisfaction. Signs follow, they do not precede.
Take a picture.
Proof that you are will follow the consciousness that you are. It will not precede it. You are an eternal dreamer, dreaming non-eternal dreams. Your dreams take form as you assume the feeling of their reality. Do not limit yourself to the past. Knowing that nothing is impossible to consciousness, begin to imagine states beyond the experiences of the past. Whatever the mind of man can imagine, man can realize. All objective, visible states were first subjective, invisible states, and you called them into visible by assuming the feeling of their reality. The creative process is first imagining and then believing the state imagined. Always imagine and expect the best.
The foundation is the reward.
The world cannot change
Always
until
expect
you
the
change
best.
your conception of it. As within, so without. Nations, as well as people, are only what you believe them to be. No matter what the problem is, no matter where it is, no matter whom it concerns,
Take a picture.
you have no one to change but yourself.
We must change
And you have neither
ourselves.
opponent nor helper in bringing about the change within yourself. You have nothing to do but convince yourself of the truth of that which you desire to see manifested.
And then celebrate.
As soon as you succeed in convincing yourself of the reality of the state sought, results follow to confirm your fixed belief. You never suggest to another the state which you desire to see him express. Instead, you convince yourself that he is already that which you desire him to be.
Oh, 8.
Realization of your wish is accomplished by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You cannot fail unless you fail to convince yourself of the reality of your wish. A change of belief is confirmed by a change of expression. Every night, as you drop off to sleep, feel satisfied and spotless, for your subjective lover always forms the objective world in the image and likeness of your conception of it, the conception defined by your feeling.
Give what
the
feels
waking
good to
two-thirds
you.
of your life on Earth
And
ever
then
corroborates or bears witness to your subconscious impressions.
say no thank you to the rest. So I've had an invitation to show my breasts, and I say no thanks. It's not why I do what I do. Yeah. Be careful what you ask of other people so inappropriately, because that's very private, and the private and the public are two different jurisdictions completely. Well, what does jurisdiction mean? Well, let me show you. Because I have been organizing over the last many months. I have been dealing with the summons that I got. And all of these are notices that I have actually sent by registered post to the Attorney General of Ontario and the Attorney General of Canada, to various public servants, all of whom involved in this matter are on notice, as is the man acting as the Attorney General of Ontario and Canada, as I said, who have been put on notice several times. The Lieutenant Governor and Council also on notice, but not them themselves in their position, them as themselves in their private having a public position. This is a distinction that is very important, in fact. Matthew, I've been spending a lot of time with Neville Goddard's work recently. Way to go. Woo! Thanks, Matt. Awesome. It's quite fun. So, yeah, it's intense how much work I have done, in fact. Not just me alone, because it never is, and yet I am a woman in my private capacity with all rights reserved at all times. All common law, which is the unwritten law, which is the highest law, because once you put rules on it, then it's limited. But until it's not, then it's not limited. So, that is what we must remember. The Emergencies Act I have quoted, because it actually says, and whereas the Governor and Council in taking such special temporary measures would be subject to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the Canadian Bill of Rights, and must have regard to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, particularly with respect to those fundamental rights that are not to be limited or abridged even in a national emergency. Abridged means to be jeopardized or compromised in some way. The Emergencies Act says we have to actually abide by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Canadian Bill of Rights, not or. It's an and also must have regard to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Therefore, it is 3 legislative documents that all of what's going on is violating right now, and I have mentioned them in the supporting notices, or in the supporting documents within the notices that I have sent. Under the rights and freedoms in Canada, the Charter guarantees many basic human rights and fundamental freedoms, but we all have other rights that come from federal, provincial, territorial, international, and common law rights. Also, Parliament or a provincial or territorial legislature can always add to our rights. Add to, not remove. So, what's happening right now is happening because we are consenting to it. Because when we comply, we give them permission. Because even in all of the vampire movies, they always say that evil cannot just come in, it has to be invited. We have to actually welcome it over the threshold. Pretty crazy, eh? Think about it. Sections 24, 26, and 52 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as well as 31. Nothing in this charter extends the legislative powers of any body or authority. Delegation of Powers, the Lieutenant Governor and Council may by order delegate to a Minister of the Crown any of the powers of the Lieutenant Governor and Council under Sections 3, 4, or 5. Damages. A person who obtains possessions of personal property by obtaining or setting aside an interim order under subsection 1 is liable for any loss suffered by the person ultimately found to be entitled to possession of the property. That means that if you are actually holding that which is not yours at the time when the ball drops, you go down because you are aiding and abetting treason. Consolidation of proceedings in different courts, where two or more proceedings are pending in two or more different courts, and the proceedings, which means it's possible to have a simultaneous court happening, which they do in the court of law, which is land, air, and water, which means a common law argument fails, generally speaking, because there's a judge in the admiralty or water law, and then the A of air, which is the ecclesiastical canon law. So canons and contracts have judges passing judgment in them, and we're just standing in common law thinking we're protected, when it's our person that's actually on trial, where they will try all in order to try to get us to give them our power, because we don't know how powerful we are, and we think that it is them that grant us our power or make our lives easier, which was their intention and why they were created in the first place. But a de facto government is very different from a de jure government, which is what was created of the people, for the people, by the people. It is when we actually make the decisions, and we understand that where two or more proceedings are pending in two or more different courts, and the proceedings requiring any of the proceedings to be stayed until after the determination of any other of them, or asserted by way of counterclaim in any other of them. So basically, anyone that makes an allegation against you, the man or woman, and myself, the woman, anybody making an allegation against me or you, that is a false claim if they don't have supporting evidence to back up that claim. And it is as men and women that we stand on our claims, which is why our word is our bond. That is why our words, we must be impeccable with them, such as what Don Miguel Ruiz said in the Four Agreements, which is the Toltec Wisdom Guide to personal power and freedom. And essentially, it says be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, always do your best. And there's one more. You'll have to check out the book in order to gain access to that, because I've already got sidetracked. The Ontario Court of Justice is meant to be a court of record, just to put that out there. Oh, my notice just fell down from my... Oh, that's so funny. My friend that helps with all the law stuff wrote a notice for Christmas for all that he has been helping, and it's several of us, because ultimately, right now, we are experiencing a corporatocratic takeover. The government is a de facto government, which means they've inherited rule, and we're allowing them to keep it because we are actually oftentimes the ones that are fulfilling those public positions and don't know what to do other than accept the order that comes down from the top, and the one that is passing the orders doesn't have to deal with the aftermath, for it is when we sign on behalf of a corpse, on behalf of a corporate entity, an entity that is dead, lifeless, and soulless until we give it ours. That corporate entity, we have to see that when we sign on behalf of it, because we are the employee with a job description, title, role to complete, what we do is actually take on the liabilities, obligations, duties, and debts for the corpse, because we signed on behalf of it, offering ourselves up for it, which is why when the company goes down, the leaders are the ones that oftentimes go down with it. So whenever there is a need to change something, the leaders need to change, and we all know that. And then we see lots of leaders that are stepping up, and we have to see how well they are leading themselves in their own lives before then we want to let them even come close to touching or ruling ours, because it is very easy to violate power, and power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, we've heard that many times. The Constitution of Canada is the supreme law of Canada, and any law that is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution is to the extent of the inconsistency of no force or effect. Here's the funny thing. Did you know that Canada doesn't actually legitimately have a constitution because it would have needed to be ratified by the people, we, the people? And it wasn't. And in fact, back when it was actually came into being, Canadians were ones who had to, they had to make a vow or an oath to be a British subject because Canada was made to be a colony, because that way it couldn't be overtaken by the Americans who were coming up. And so that was why Canada was given to Britain as a colony. And then we actually were granted sovereignty provincially, which means that each province is a different corporation or a corporate entity that we think is a country, but it's only a country because we allow those terms and definitions to be what define us. So, you listened to that last night. How amazing, Sunshine David. Awesome to see you, and happy end to a crazy, crazy year, man. Cheers, I say to you. Oh, it's true. Did you know no one shall be held in slavery or servitude? Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all of their forms. And I said, even to Her Majesty. Lots of energy needing to clear around that one. Boy. Can you believe that? Human slavery. Human trafficking is a huge thing. And half the world is willing to talk about it, and the other half jump off and don't want to. The other half that do get banned, and then you don't. You know, I'm actually going to take this off. Silent mode is off. And then I'm going to hang you up. Oh my gosh. There we go. Woo! Yeah, there we go. Bravo! Oh, I'm so excited. Woo, yeah, there we go. Turn the light on. Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on. You can do it all the time. Turn your lights on. Yes, you can. Turn your lights on. No one shall be held in servitude. No one shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. Paragraph 3 shall not be held in to preclude in countries where imprisonment with hard labor may be imposed as punishment for a crime, the performance of hard labor in pursuance of a sentence to such punishment by a competent court. For the purposes of this paragraph, the term forced or compulsory labor shall not include any work or service not referred to in subparagraph B normally required of a person who I can't do it. Oh, sorry guys. Woo. Oh my god, the coffee wasn't getting it. But you know when cranberry juice just kind of coats it? Oh my lord. Have you ever heard Lord be spelled L-A-W''D for one who understood the universal laws and how to wield them responsibly? Able to respond, break them down. Oh my god. A fictitious plaintiff. We'll leave that one. A party who appears as a claimant but has no right or standing. So, under slavery, did you notice that it said person, not man or woman? It's a very important distinction because a person is a creation. It was created in the hierarchy of creation under the public jurisdiction. And because it's under the public, it's like your account that you use to access this message with. That's what your person is. So you have a person. You have an account. It's essentially your trust account. How much trust are you putting in the government? How much trust are you putting in the professionals? Trust the professionals? We're told what to put our trust in because our trusts are already there from an admiralty maritime contract law perspective where our birth certificates are concerned because on the back there's a number. It's actually your bond number that your trust is traded on. So all the trust that you give to the corporation that you think that has power is because you give it your power and trust that it is able to act as a beneficiary of the trust it is meant to be a trustee for. So, if you actually look, de jure government, that was the government for the people, of the people, by the people, with the people. That's where we do it, and we have a say. And right now, constitutionally, we need to actually draft a new one. And there's many groups that are doing it. I'm not involved with any of them right now. I do say, if you are involved with any groups, you do need to be careful, beware of the OPCA litigants' application, organized pseudo-legal commercial argument litigant application. What I mean by an application is that if they apply that term, that title to you, that drops your standing as a man or woman in your private capacity with all rights reserved, which is above the public in the private, down to being your person, which is the interface where you stand under their jurisdiction, which is what I was looking to get to in the first place. I wanted to actually share with you the definition of jurisdiction. It's earlier in my little book that I'm putting together because I do believe that it is time for us to understand. Common law is based on God's law. Anytime someone is charged under the common law, there must be a damaged party. You are free under the common law to do anything you please as long as you do not infringe on the life, liberty, or property of someone else. You have a right to make a fool of yourself provided you do not infringe on the life, liberty, or property of someone else. The common law does not allow for any government action which prevents a man from making a fool of himself. For instance, when you crossed over state lines in most states, you will see a sign which says, "Buckle your seatbelts, it's the law." This cannot be common law, because who would you injure if you do not buckle up? Nobody. This would be compelled performance, but common law cannot compel performance. Any violation of common law is a criminal act and is punishable. Equity law. Equity law is law which compels performance. Well, we're going to get into the Gestalt of Santa Claus because I did a presentation a few weeks back, if you remember, about the next one I need to do is on respect, boundaries, and expressing yourself, communication, emotions. I created the first impressive blog that I've ever done in terms of both the written copy but also the elements and the page setup. I'm pretty proud of myself, to be entirely fair. So anyway, jurisdiction is basically, juris is what is spoken. No, diction is what is spoken, and juris is said to be law. So it's the law that is spoken and given credit to until credit is no longer due there. And I was going to show you another definition. Fictitious plaintiff, a party who appears as a claimant but has no right or standing. Obedience to de facto law. No person shall be convicted of an offense in respect of an act or omission in obedience to the laws of for the time being made and enforced as persons in de facto possession of the sovereign power in and over the place where the act or omission occurs. So what's interesting about the fact that, going back to what I had said about how under the Westminster Act, all of the provinces were given sovereignty, which means there is no Corporation of Canada under which all of the corporations have to comply, which is why all of them are different. And right now, if we actually follow the Criminal Code of Canada, section 126.1, disobeying a statute, every one who without lawful excuse contravenes an act of Parliament by wilfully doing anything that it forbids, or by wilfully omitting to do anything that it requires to be done, is, unless a punishment is expressly provided by law, guilty of an indictable offence and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. Why I read that is, without lawful excuse is the part that we used in comparing to that, compared to the crime that I'm alleged to have spoke, which I claim, this is very important for you to be aware of, what sureties need to know, because we are deemed to be a surety for our trust, which is our person. And the definition of person, if that would make it easier for you to jive with me, come and ride with me, don't you see, we could be so great if we just try to stick it through. Don't give up, we need to stand on our love. A person means an individual, company, partnership, unincorporated association, unincorporated syndicate, unincorporated organization, trust, trustee, or other person that administers the property of another, an executor, administrator, or other legal representative. Do you get what that means? Do you get what that means when they say that you are a surety for the person? You know, I'm clearing my throat. I'm getting choked up because I'm moving energy, but I've also been moving energy with a cellular upgrade, which is what I say when people get, you know, the flu or just get unwell. It's cellular vibrational upgrading. It's like when you go through a detox, you oftentimes have that backtrack experience of feeling unwell, and you start, like, your body is basically getting rid of all of the gross from the toxic load that we all carry based on all of the toxins that come in. Not all of it always leaves immediately, right? So it's like our toxic load is the toxic burden that we carry inside of us. And we have to recognize it's not just on a physical level. You've got energetic, emotional, mental. We have to look at ourselves as a multidimensional being. And a surety is someone who agrees to take responsibility for a person accused of a crime. Being a surety is a serious commitment. Before you accept this responsibility, here are a few things you should think about. Think about getting independent legal advice to make sure you understand what this commitment means. Do you already know that you are made to be a surety for your person, and it will be used against you in the court of law unless you know better? Oh yeah. Responsibilities of the surety. Making sure the accused person comes to court on time and on the right dates. Making sure that the accused person obeys each condition of the bail order, also known as a recognizance order. Conditions may require the accused person, not man or woman, to report to the police and obey a curfew. They may also order the accused to not possess weapons, drink alcohol, or communicate directly or indirectly with the victim or victim's family. This means that you, as the surety, are also not to communicate on behalf of the accused person with the victim or the victim's family. If you are accepted as a surety, you must sign the recognizance. It means that you agree to pay a specified amount of money if the accused person fails to obey the court order. Well, so basically, I read out what it means to be a surety because you will be alleged to be a surety for your person until you clarify that, and we must all be correcting our status to be a standing. Because right now I am a woman standing on my feet and legs, right? I also have a personage, so that's what the government interacts with me with. That's what my accounts interact with me with. Those are my creations. Those are the fictions. Now, when I claim the right to be a woman in my private capacity, standing on a claim that I made in a notice that I sent by registered post to public servants, which are men and women acting in the positions of public servants, which means I sent them to a man or a woman who received it and was the eye on the page that I will look eye to eye in the court when they have to come and say why they are not trying to remedy this trespass against I, the woman, that has stood as who I am and called them to actually take the stand and make the claim against me. But the judge hasn't shown up the last 2 times. The first 2, I said I was not coming, so I don't know what the judge did then. But fortunately, in the first one, I had somebody else on the call that told me when it was adjourned to. And then the second time, same thing. So the third time I showed because a police officer, a man acting as a police officer, came to the house to deliver another summons with 3 boxes, one of which was checked. That said I needed to attend this next date. And anything that is in a box on a form is not part of the same form. So if anything is in a box, your X is in the box, that X isn't on the page. So you're not actually reserving any rights. You're signing all of them away. That's what happened with your birth certificates. Until our birth certificates, because it happened to me too. But once we know better, then we can do better. And I like doing better when I know better. So all of this is to say that sometimes I like to play. I do a little accent here and there, and I'll sing too. Now, I'm gonna sit myself down. I'm super excited, actually, also because I just bought myself a little Christmas present. Tuning forks! Super cool. Yay! You're the first to see. Now it will be healing with me. So, super excited. That arrived today. And so did Brene Brown's The Gift of Imperfection. I had this book. I had like 3 copies of this book, and I gave them to my mom, my sister-in-law, my dad's wife, my grandma, and I had one, and then I gave mine away at the airport to a man that was very vampirous and also needed it more than I did, so I gave it away before the snake bit, but it's all good. So I got my copy sent back to me today, and then it's about digging deep, so getting deliberate, get inspired, and get going. Phenomenal book. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance. Letting go of being cool and always in control. So, while I will say that it may look like I'm kind of polished in how comfortable I am being on live with you here, I get a lot of comments from people just because I'm just so authentically me. It's like, if you meet me, I'm the same way I am now, really, for the most part, I think, when I'm actually with people, because I don't try to be something I'm not, and I don't try to act other than I am, because I believe that it's not necessary, and I just want to be myself with people that love me for being myself. And I hope that you have that too, because we all deserve it. And this is Gaian Tarot. So Gaian Tarot actually is an awesome, awesome website. Joanna Powell Colbert. I've been using that website literally for years. These are massive. Okay, that was the book. I was like, if those are the cards, like, holy crap. This is awesome. So, I have been using these cards in the free reading on GaianTarot.com, I believe it is. The Seeker. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm going to do if I run out of water altogether, because my throat is very dry tonight. Oh my god, I'm so excited, guys. Joanna, I think that's actually Joanna herself. That's amazing. How cool is that? I was just going to tell you that I love the silver edging around the cards. And then literally there's her picture. That's so cool. So cool. Alright. Well, I'm going to look forward to digging into those. And basically, first, I love this. It's like Christmas. Her website, it literally is like pre-done, or Gaian Tarot. You just click the card. Super cool. I found her while I was in England. But I think that she's in the States. Anyway, so guys, the chapter I wanted to read to you was the reason this book was lent to me in the first place. Be thankful for the wonderful gift of being able to serve humanity, your planet, and your God. That's a lot to be grateful for. Indeed it is. So, good evening, and how are you all doing? What a joyous lot of lights you are. It is beauteous to see. You have a very wondrous feeling tone. So do you. It's creating some tears. You must have brought a lot of love with you. I hope so. I guess we will get into the spirit of the season. Your season is a wondrous time of your experience. For most of you upon your plane and into your culture, a whole lot of the beauty of the experience is lost. So we're going to work on getting it back. Your time of season has so many ideals and different ways of thought about it. In your last several years, you have what you term your commercialization, and you've lost a lot of the beauty of your season. So it is our intent to try to get back to the treasure of it and the spirit that is truly there. What I would like to explain first is a concept that we call a Gestalt, a consciousness Gestalt, and it will lay a framework for the rest of my discussion. All things that you do upon this plane, you do in consciousness, and your consciousnesses coagulate into what we term Gestalts. A Gestalt is a combination of like thought. There is nothing you can do that does not require other people to play the game with you. No matter what you would do, no matter what you would be, somebody else has to help you play your game. Anything that you want to do, no matter what it is that you would ever wish or desire to do in this reality, takes other people to play certain roles for you. A Gestalt is sort of like a library of consciousness where you can go to check out people to play different roles for you. Anybody that is willing to play the same game, anyone who wants to be supporting actors or actresses for other people's games will fill into and be part of a particular Gestalt. They are on file in the library. Let's say that you want to paint. You can't be the artist until there is someone who will let you be the painter. You can do it, but without someone to appreciate your work, you aren't going to get it marketed. Without someone to help you create your canvas or your pigment, you won't have anything to paint on or with. So each of these different players in your game, so each of these are different players in your game, so to speak. Let's say that you want to be a hairdresser. You can't be a hairdresser until you have other people's heads and hair to work upon. If you wish to play your dream and your reality, you have to have other supporting players in order to do it. So a Gestalt actually takes and creates its own rules of what is acceptable and what is not, and who can play the game and how it is to be played. In the hairdresser Gestalt, for example, it will tell you that you can and cannot do. In this Gestalt, you have to have people with hair. Bald people aren't going to be a whole lot of help to you. It tells you what to do, what you go to school for, what you learned, what your talents are, and what your creation will be. It defines the whole limits of your reality in that Gestalt. Let's just say that we're going to have a hairdresser here. What are the first things that pop up into your mind as the definition of a hairdresser? Let's share a few of these just for the fun of it. Beauty, a good conversationalist. They don't make very much money. Most of your belief around people in creative arts is that they can't be very wealthy because that is part of the Gestalt. If you were to sit and make a list of everything you think about a hairdresser, this will tell you what is part of the Gestalt around one. This is just one example. Everything you do in your life creates a Gestalt or comes from a Gestalt. No matter what it is, or no matter what you wish to be or do, it is ruled by a Gestalt. Let's say that here is a hairdresser, and so she is part of the hairdresser Gestalt. Let's say that she wants to be a banker now. What are the first things that pop up for you when we say that she wants to be the banker next week? She can't be a banker. Why not? She's not trained to be a banker. It's too hard to make that kind of transition. All of this is the definition of a Gestalt. No matter who you are or what you are functioning as, these are the things you'll deal with. No matter what you want to be, you have to deal with Gestalts. These are your beliefs. Whatever you believe about anything formulates and coagulates into consciousness. And as it does, whatever you wish to be or do will be defined. These are the unsaid rules. That is what a Gestalt is. The Gestalt says the hairdresser is a hairdresser, and she might make it as a waitress or something else, but as a banker, hardly. So if a hairdresser wanted to be a banker, she would really have to work at it to do so. There is nothing that you do upon this planet where you can avoid a Gestalt. A Gestalt forms the rules of the games you play, and most of you are in more than one of them. You have individual Gestalts and you have family Gestalts. That's why most of you act different around every single person you meet. Around your family you have one image or face and one way they will see you. Around people you work with have a different one. Around people you work with you have a different one. That was so good. These individuals have a personal Gestalt, and you're playing a role for them. You are playing the son or daughter, the parent, the employer, or the employee. You're playing different roles for different people. These are all Gestalts. Everything on your planet is a Gestalt. They make the rules. They tell you what you will and won't be. And as you try to change and grow, you have to move through them. The trick with a Gestalt is to play the game. A Gestalt has a very rigid rule around it about what it will and will not accept. Just as we said with the hairdresser trying to be the banker, most of you, if you were being honest, said, well, good dream, but it will be a lot of work. But it will be a lot of hard work. It is rather a matter of knowing what the game is and learning how to play it. If you can learn to play the game of consciousness, you can be anything you want in a life, in a moment. What you have to do is match and understand what the Gestalt is you're dealing with in order to get into it. So if our hairdresser knew what the Gestalt was around banking, and she still wanted to be a banker, then she'd know that she would have to get a different education, do this and this and this, and then she'd be able to become the banker. Gestalts don't just affect your employment and your relationships, but everything. And this is what we are going to talk about, is your Christmas Gestalt. This is the season of what you term Christmas. This is the season that most of you have connection with in one way or another. For some individuals on your planet, it brings grand depression, with some grand joy. Christmas is a Gestalt. Christmas is a metaphor. It is a combination of everybody's beliefs and ideals. I want you to go into your feelings. What are the first things that come up when I say Christmas? Be honest. My battery's getting low. Getting low, getting low, getting low. Lots of money. Presents. Pressure and rush. Courier and Eves. Okay, what else? Kids in Christmas. Kids in Santa Claus. Kids in Santa Claus. The birth of Christ. Joy. Good. See, all of these beliefs and ideals and attitudes. Good. See, all of these beliefs and ideals and attitudes. You put them all together and this creates the Gestalt called Christmas. The Gestalt is so large that each of you can focus into it and touch whatever you want. Many times the way a Gestalt works is you take it all or nothing. The Gestalt sort of tells you, okay, here's the pearl you are seeking in the middle, but if you want it, you have to take the whole oyster. You may not want the whole oyster, just the pearl. All these things are a portion of the Gestalt of Christmas, a portion of your collective unconsciousness. Whenever you move into a place of wanting to get into Christmas and into the spirit of Christmas generically, you're tapping into all of these attitudes and beliefs about Christmas. So on the one hand, you can feel the joy and love of Christmas, which really is the joy and love of Christmas, which is what you really want to focus on. But because you are generically using Christmas, you are also getting the rush, the stress, and hubbub. You're getting all those things that you wouldn't necessarily tap into if you knew that was what you were doing. After a few generations of doing this, when you start connecting into Christmas, most of the spirit of it has been lost. If you were quite honest with it, most of you try to maintain intellectually a feeling tone of the beauty and joy of the season. You truly try to do this, but you get overclouded with all the rest, the rush, the hustle and bustle. It begins to lose meaning to you, and the season of Christmas begins to become a burden. When it becomes a burden, many people start getting depressed because they don't know how to find the joy and spirit that is truly there. They are getting the whole oyster, and what they want is the pearl. Move into your feelings with Christmas. Don't get into them too deep yet, but the top layer of them. There is some joy here. There is some joy there, some excitement, but there is a lot of pressure and the tensions too. We have to learn how to get the pearl without having to take the rest of it. Your Christmas season. Let's get down to some true depth and feeling. What is the Christmas season really when you get rid of all the tension and hubbub? Christmas is a celebration of birth. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. Each may have his own and they are all fine. Your season is a season of birth. It is a time of year when your plants and your planet itself are going into a rest in your winter months. It is building up excitement in order to burst into new life in the spring. It is going into its sleep, building, and getting ready to birth in the spring as soon as the thaw comes. The creatures are hibernating and there is a renewal time with it. So your whole season is a birth. That is what this season truly is. It is about birth. What are you birthing? It's not just birth as in waking up. It is a time of excitement, a time of growth, and a time of deep intensity of joy. Are you started using everything else and you became lost? But you started using everything else and you became lost in all the metaphors. You don't remember the true feeling in here, and that true feeling is the deep intensity of joy in birth, joy in life. That is what it is all about. From a Christian standpoint, you honor the birth of a Christ. What does that mean to you? It is a time of excitement. It is a time of new life. It is a time of hope. Your season is the time to birth hope. What is the child wanting that is happy with Santa Claus and doesn't understand? What is the child wanting that is happy with Santa Claus and doesn't understand your whole story of Christ? Why does the child anticipate Santa? It is a joy. It is an excitement that instills in them. They don't care what your metaphor is. They don't care if it is Santa Claus or a Christ baby, but they do know that it is a time of joy, a time of life, of spirit, and there is an excitement. So let's try to start getting into the feelings now. What is that spark, that pearl in there really? All this other is just stories about it. Santa Claus is a story. Christ is a story. The time of the seasons is a story. But what is the true pearl that is in there? What are they all representing? Let yourselves feel it. If you could have the season mean anything to you, what would it be? When you were a child, what was it? It was an excitement. Let's get in touch with the excitement. It is an excitement of joy, an excitement of life. That is the pearl. It is a season of birth, but the season of birth is to birth that joy and move back into that spark of life. So why did we lose that? We were too busy and life became too complex. We were just running away from it. Let yourselves feel that excitement. Let it tell you its own story. Be willing to do it. The pearl is inside of you right now. Let the excitement that you would truly put back in the season. It's not an excitement of going around and buying packages. You started doing the packages and the shopping because it gave you excitement. When you were doing things and giving gifts for other people, that was exciting, and that is why you originally started doing it. Then it became a burden because the checkbook was trying to get balanced. You didn't have enough to go around. You had to figure out where to cut corners and whether you could buy Christmas presents or pay your bills, and the spirit was lost. Feel it in there. It is a joy of life. You started celebrating the season to put excitement into your life. You had it already, but it was a celebration of joy. What your season is all about is a celebration of the joy of life and the excitement of the child. But when you went into a place of running away from it, everybody wanted to grow up. They thought that growing up was to let go of the excitement and surprises. Adults always like to know how everything is, you know. Children like excitement. They like the surprises. Why do you think they wait for Santa? It really isn't to see if they have been good or bad. It is because it builds an excitement and a joy in here. Many of you come from deep religious backgrounds. Why did you move into the spirit of the season and the Christ story? You did it because it triggered a joy in there, a hope. They are all the same. Each of them is just a different story or metaphor that people use to explain that feeling of excitement. The feeling of excitement is hope for life and joy. So let's get in and feel it. Let's try to find the pearl. I'm going to actually pause this live here because there are 9 more pages and I need more water and coffee, to be fair. So, very awesome to see you here. My phone is going to die any moment now, so I'm going to just end this live stream over on Facebook for now and say I will be back in a few, long enough to have coffee and water refill and my throat clear, and then to be able to come back. So peace for now. Okay, good. I'm just going to take you with me for a little while I get a charger. I get a charger. I get a charger. Oh, it's true. I should have grabbed my cup and glass. Why did you ask? Oh, because I think it's time for us to go through the liminal possibility, up the stairs to the first floor, and that's when then you see some more Papa. Oh, whoa. He's having a nap. I'm gonna go get you plugged in. We're gonna be back shortly. So thank you for tuning in tonight. And we're going to read the rest of the Santa Claus Gestalt. And if you want more on what I thought before I got to this point of information, then you can go and see the Notices, Liability, and the Myth of Santa Claus that I had done back in November, I think it was. So check it out if you dare. Lover J, much care to you and yours as we round out this year. Wow, what a year it's been, eh? Leave a comment how yours has been. I hope it's been great, even if it's been filled with a lot of shade too. So, and maybe some hate too, but God bless you. God bless your family. Regardless of what box you put God into or what by box I mean word you call the grand overall designer, creator of all that is, whatever it is. I wish for the source or creator of all of it to bless you abundantly, and to recognize that rejection is the way that the universe kept you moving forward, because their acceptance of you would have actually stopped you from doing what you needed to. So keep that in mind next time you doubt yourself, my friend. Much love. Ciao for now. Laura J. Namaste.